So this is a big problem that has been going on in VTubing and also a lot of different spaces as well recently. And obviously, recently Bao has been, involved in some stuff which some people aren't very happy at her, some people don't care, some people are in the middle, and it was a kind of pretty crazy situation in the past. You guys can go and watch my last videos. But again, it's not really so much about this situation because it seems like more people are trying to go after her for following people. And I think it's getting ridiculous that this is the case, right? Regardless of what you think about Bao and, previous things that she has said, I think it's absolutely ridiculous for a post like this to be actually shared and for someone to think this is a good idea. They said, thoughts on Bao the whale. And I was interested by this because I was like, what is going on? And they said, I'm expecting this to get downvoted to hell and back, honestly. And, it did, by the way, he's on 0 upvotes. But I'm not even against it because I hope I'm wrong or just overreacting. I've been having some thoughts about the types of people that Bao follows over on Twitter. Oh boy. We've got someone that has 0 time on their hands. Specifically, too much time on their hands, not 0 time on their hands. Specifically, the concerning number of white supremacists she follows. I'll be honest and say that even though I'm a fan of Bao, I don't watch everything she does. I can't catch every stream, I can't watch every VOD and video, so I always have that little voice in the back of my mind questioning, is she the type of person that she isn't the type of person that she seems to be, which of course she isn't. We do not know the lives of all streamers or how much of their personalities are camera only. But then again, that's not what I meant, and you probably know that already. For example, last year, she used to follow Kiyoshi right until most people were aware of the type of person she is. A couple of weeks later, she was outed as a white supremacist and bigot. She unfollowed her, and I thought that was the end of that. But last time I checked, she was following her again. I don't know exactly when this happened, but it must have been relatively recently, since I remember she wasn't following her in November. She also happened to follow Ririgaki, a French Nazi VTuber. Again, crazy. These are 2 people she has never collabed with or even interacted with as far as I'm aware, so I'm having trouble imagining her to follow them. There's also some things about Bao herself which gave me a weird vibe. I haven't been able to look past it, like a weird obsession with Asmongold from a couple of years ago. And they say, granted, he wasn't as big of a bigot as he is back then, but he definitely wasn't the best person either. Again, a lot of people liked Asmongold 2 years ago that don't like Asmongold now, I'm going to be honest. They say she also follows people like Tektoad and Nuxtaku, which you could group up with Asmongold and wave by that way, which, again, I think is absolutely crazy. And I'm going to stop right there because you guys can kind of see exactly where this is going, right? They're saying, oh, they're following people like, Kiyoshi, they're following people like Nuxtaku, they're following people like Tektoad, they're following people like Ririgaki, they like Asmongold or whatever, or they liked Asmongold in the past or something like that, which, again, I think is crazy, right? And obviously, they say there's also her being pals with people like Scoocha, who is obviously a blatant right-wing grifter. It's like, oh my god, bro. Like, are we seriously this unemployed? Like, I'm gonna be real. Are we seriously, having... I don't know. It's just so weird, right? And they obviously put up an image here, right? They've gone through the entire following of Bao the whale to throw up any kind of, people possible that she's following, right? Obviously, all of the people that she mentioned, she is following. Lock her up, okay? That's enough proof for me. Go to jail, right? She's committed a huge crime that cannot be there can't be any kind of fix for this. You can't atone for this one. Yeah, you go straight to jail for following people on Twitter. Yeah, no, I'm joking, obviously. I think it's crazy, right? Because you can't follow people now on Twitter without someone making a Reddit thread on you, which I think is absolutely crazy, right? And obviously, it doesn't necessarily mean that Bao exactly, aligns with all of these people's interests or anything like that. Obviously, all of these people are very big people on Twitter, right? Who obviously tweet quite a bit and get some pretty popular, posts. And I think it is pretty important for people to understand that not everybody, who is following somebody necessarily likes them or even potentially knows about them. Because sometimes you follow people that you don't even know about and you forgot that you followed them. You're like, oh, wait, I follow that person? Oh, what the hell? And sometimes that happens, right? But also, if they do know, sometimes, we're not even necessarily saying that Bao has the same opinions as these people because, for example, me, I follow people like Hassan, right? I follow Hassan, and you guys know how much I dislike Hassan, based on my tweets and based on a lot of my YouTube posts. We talked about him quite a bit and my dislike for him, but I still follow him. So does that mean I support him, or does that mean I just follow him because A, he's a big personality on the internet. B, I want to see his opinions whenever they pop up. You know, I like looking at contrary opinions to mine, right? I like looking at opinions that aren't mine and that A, I can make fun of, or B, can think about and be like, oh, you know, that's pretty interesting. I guess I didn't really see that side of things, right? And I do think that is one of the things that is the beauty of following people on Twitter and following people on anything, right? You could get to have lots of different perspectives from different people. But of course, as soon as it's people like Kiosha or Tectone or Asmongold or whoever, right, apparently you're not allowed to follow those people, but you're allowed to follow the other ones, right? And I think it is pretty crazy that this is something that a lot of people have been going after Bao for, because it is something that you shouldn't be going after her for. She can follow whoever the hell she wants, right? And I think a lot of people that have been kind of, you know, getting mad about this are just stupid, right? And say, full disclosure, this was written about a month and a half ago, but it's now just being posted for personal reasons. So they've been holding this out for a month. Like, how unemployed do you have to be for this to happen? They say, I also understand that I may be overreacting, given that my concerns mostly come from the people that she follows and nothing else. Exactly, right? Has she ever, you know, done a collaboration with these people on stream, you know, in the last couple of years? Probably not. I'm gonna be real, right? Has she ever, you know, quote retweeted them in the last couple of years? Probably not, right? And I think that is something that is very, very important whenever you start to go after someone for following people that you dislike. Now, of course, right, if you don't like, you know, your Tectones, your Asmongods, your Kioshas or whatever, that's totally fine. If you don't want to support her because of that, you know, that's fine. But I also think at the same time, you really got to do your research into, does she actually, you know, kind of, you know, like their opinions or whatever, or is she just following them because it's Twitter and you follow everybody on Twitter, right? Like, how many people does Bao follow? 600 people. That's quite a lot of people, right? And again, I think that a lot of these people as well that she is following and that they have kind of pulled out specifically are very, very big creators and are people that are very, you know, outspoken over on places like Twitter, whether you agree with their opinions or not, right? And I think that is one of the major things that people don't understand. You know, people saying, I think you should touch grass, right? I second this. I think OP needs to touch grass, 100%, you know. Say, my guess is some of these follows were from when they were relatively normal, which again, could also be the case, right? I'm not saying that they're not normal, by the way. Obviously, that's how that person put it. But again, you know, maybe back, you know, all of these people, or well, most of them have had a big shift in the kind of, you know, content that they make. It's become much more like political or dramatized or controversial or whatever you want to put it, right? Whether you like that or not. Again, you know, some of them have changed over time. And of course, that could also be a factor. They could still be following them. Now, obviously, apparently, this person is unemployed enough to know whenever someone has unfollowed them and refollowed them back, whenever they discussed Kiosha there, which apparently she refollowed her. But again, maybe she forgot. Maybe, you know, there's so many different factors to this, which you don't know about personally, which is why we never go after someone for who they are following, right? Because you can follow anybody on the platform. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you've automatically just kind of made a combination of Asmongold, Tectone, Nuxtaku, Kiosha, and Riri in your head, and now all of a sudden you've become a like amalgamation of all of them who's unable to think freely and is unable to take in other people's opinions. And yeah, you've literally just become them with the same opinions now. That's just not true, right? That's just not how it works. Whenever you follow someone, you don't automatically go, okay, yeah, now I believe everything this person says and everything that they do, and I support them fully in it, right? Like, oh my god, bro, it's just so dumb. I hate it whenever people try to guilt people for following certain people. I've had it before. So many other VTubers have had it before as well, where, you know, they get kind of bullied into unfollowing people just because they are following them, right? They've never made content about them. They've never talked about them. They never talked to them, publicly at least, and they just follow them. They simply just follow them on Twitter or somewhere like that. And, you know, they get attacked for it, which I think is crazy, right? These weirdos, these unemployed, you know, people that don't touch grass, like, I'm sorry, like, it's actually like a next level of, like, kind of weird. It's a next level of, like, spending way too much time on Twitter and not worrying about something else in your life. Like, honestly, get a job, get a hobby, get anything else. Because, again, it seems like you've been mulling over this for a month, it says, a month and a half ago. And you've been, like, looking into her followings. You've been looking into who's unfollowed and followed and who she hangs out with. And, oh, is there some big conspiracy behind here? Could she secretly be a right-wing grifter and we're going to cancel her? Who cares? Honestly, if she was, I wouldn't even care anyways. But even then, she's not, right? She just follows some people on Twitter. Like, this is the conclusion you're making out of someone following somebody on Twitter. Like, it sounds ridiculous, right? It sounds so stupid. You know, a lot of people said Tecton was ever not as unsufferable as. I mean, yeah, to be fair, he's had a pretty, you know, what do you call it? Like explosive personality for a while. But yeah, people say follows aren't a big deal, as you think. You know, if she isn't doing anything or saying anything you find concerning, then she's fine. Exactly. Right? Probably people she followed in the past. Yeah. Mods up the age requirement on accounts here. 100% true. I said, not even that we need just active mods in general. It's inactive as hell. Obviously, apparently there's only one mod here. So why in the world would you take a picture of just a big block of text instead of just putting it in the body of your post? You know, and obviously it seems like a lot of people have just been like saying, yeah, I ain't reading all of that. I ain't doing this. People saying, yeah, just because someone is following someone on Twitter does not mean they're supporting them, right? A manager might have followed a ton of people on creators and Bao doesn't even realize it, right? And yeah, of course, sometimes there's the case of managers running accounts. I don't know how it works for Bao, but sometimes, yeah, they do follow some of the popular VTuber and VTuber adjacent accounts that, you know, get a lot of, you know, discussions going on, right? And again, right, as I said, it doesn't necessarily mean that she shares any opinions with any of these people. And again, even if she does, I don't care anyway, either way, right? I think it's fine. And of course, you know, but the thing is, Bao hasn't said anything, right? Bao hasn't, you know, talked about anything to do with this because, you know, she just follows them. It's really not that big of a deal. And I think it is crazy that some people are trying to cancel them over this kind of stuff, and regardless of what you think of the previous stuff that Bao's been involved in, right? Obviously she has been involved in a lot of drama where, you know, it's kind of been the last straw for them in terms of whether they like her or not. But I do think this is ridiculous, right? This goes like one step too far in the terms of like, you know, because, you know, the people that dislike her now currently is for what she has said, right? They dislike her for her tweets and for her opinions, but these people are disliking them for following someone, right? And I think it is absolutely insane. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to cover that because I saw this and I thought it was absolutely ridiculous that people are trying to do this. And it's something that has become more and more common in the VTubing space, especially with other VTubers as well, not just Bao. And I think it is, yeah, horrible to see. And yeah, I'm glad that a lot of people have some sense and are telling them to go touch some grass because, as I said, seriously, some major unemployed behavior here. As I said, go get a hobby. Stop looking at people's following, you know, kind of pages and stuff like that, and just do something with your life because honestly, it would be much better for you. But yeah, that's essentially all I got for this video. If you guys did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to GameStop, use my code Kaza, get 10% off. Again, they got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.